It's time to mind your business with me, Jamila Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here. Welcome to Mind Your Business. I am your host, Jamila Lodge. I'm so happy to have you in the seat with us today. So you're Chris Steele, president of SpectroPay.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about your entrepreneurial journey. We're going to talk about SpectroPay and some of the great services that you offer for entrepreneurs and any other stuff you want to talk about.
Okay. All right.
But before we get started, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Myself or SpectroPay in general?
You.
Me.
First.
Okay.
You get a turn.
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've worked in the corporate world for many years. And then at some point about 10 years ago, that spark just lit up in me and I said, I want to start my own business. So we looked around as to, how we can best service Bermuda. And we ended up with SpectroPay. And SpectroPay is a point of sale and payment solution company. So in terms of what we do, those are the two core areas. And from there are many other things that we do. So the point of sale, the acronym for that is POS. I might mention that. But point of sale is really where the transaction takes place. So a buyer and seller meet and they have a place where they exchange money and services. That's the point of sale.
Right.
Historically, that's been a cash drawer. That's been a cash register. In today's world, it's turned into a iPad
or a phone.
Or a phone. And there is a software on there or application on there which people use.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the core of what we do. And so part of what we try to do for local merchants is really understand what they needed, and also taking some of the headache over what systems work best in Bermuda.
Right.
That's a big headache. You can go and get on the internet and find all sorts of wonderful things, all the bells and whistles, and you find out it doesn't work in Bermuda.
Right.
And that's,
can you talk a little bit about that specific piece and why certain systems don't work in Bermuda?
Certain systems don't work because they're not built for Bermuda markets. One of the things and one of the reasons we started SpectroPay is when you're small, okay, you're a small fish, you got to do things differently.
Yes.
A lot of the systems are built for scale.
Got you.
They're built, and they're built in the U.S., Canada, Europe, or wherever, and they're built for larger markets. Okay, so they cater to markets, larger markets. They include tax, all sorts of things that are not relevant for Bermuda. And so when it comes to applying certain services to Bermuda, you find that, okay, I don't want that, I don't want this, and you end up looking at it and saying there's certain things that just don't make sense.
Right.
So we at SpectroPay try to look for systems that are compatible with Bermuda in terms of what they offer, what's applicable, but also in terms of the payments.
Okay.
I don't know if this is politically correct.
Okay.
But people will call a certain provider overseas that has a point of sale that looks great.
Yeah.
And they'll say, yeah, it works in Bermuda. This works in Bermuda.
And then once it gets here,
once you drop your dollars and pay, and you find out it doesn't, it's really, really difficult.
Right.
So you feel you have to use it. So what we try to do is people call us up. They say, look, what works in Bermuda? We say, this works, that works.
It's like you guys do the hard work of identifying what actually is going to work so people don't have to spend time trying to figure it out, wasting money.
Yeah. And just frustration.
Yeah.
Right? As an entrepreneur and as a small business person, you'll find that you wear many hats.
Yes, you do.
And so, you're the accountant, you're the research person, you're everybody.
Chief everything officer, right?
and sometimes you want your ducks to line up. Not sometimes. You want your ducks to line up.
Yeah.
So that it saves you time and effort. And so spending a month looking at something saying, this is great, you bring it in, it doesn't work. It really messes with your timeline.
Yeah.
And so we try to make it easier for merchants, and we tell them, this will work, this won't.
So your solutions that you offer, are they strictly for, let's say, brick and mortar, or do you have mobile solutions?
We have many different types of solutions. So under the POS, under the point of sale, We have different types of point of sale systems geared towards specific industries. For
Okay.
example, retail. We have one for restaurants. We have one for for like salons.
Okay.
We have one that's primarily for mobile. How we got started is, we looked at what was the greatest need for payments and a POS system for transportation, particularly taxis.
Got you.
This is going back to 2014,
Yeah.
2015, and only a handful of taxis had credit cards in them.
I know. I couldn't find one.
And so it was frustrating for locals and also for international people.
Because most people around the world don't use cash anymore.
No, and most people assume
that you are going to have,
that you're going to have it. That Bermuda being a modern country,
yes,
they just assume that that you would accept credit cards. And so when you don't, it became difficult for taxi drivers. They had some encounters, some of them not so pleasant, about people, what do you mean I got to go to the bank machine?
Right.
So we started off there. And from the mobile point of sale, which worked on your phone,
right,
we then went to what's called retail.
Okay.
So you come in, you see a cash drawer, printer, iPad. We went into that, both in retail and into restaurants.
Okay.
And then we also got a system that does salons and whatnot. And so the point of sale, the other part about the point of sale is that unlike a cash register or electronic cash drawer, whatever you want to use or was being used, it can integrate things into it. So it made things very efficient. For example, payments can be integrated right into it. So the point of sale will then speak to the credit card terminal.
Got you.
So if you have a customer that's in front of you, you hit the button on the point of sale, it will then speak to the credit card terminal, then go back and tell the point of sale closed.
Right.
So there's no sort of finger trouble or what we call double entry.
Yes.
And when you're busy, that really helps. Like if you have a busy cafe, you're not having to do
two steps.
It saves a lot of time.
Right.
The other thing the point of sale integrates not just the face-to-face, credit card terminal. It also does online. We do offer online or what's called e-commerce.
Okay.
So if you have a website,
yes,
we can set up a gateway where you can accept payments. A lot of, I would say, progressive entrepreneurs are getting a POS that then they can have their credit card terminal hooked into, as well as their e-commerce or online payments hooked into.
Yeah, because, sometimes, especially with retail, a lot of people start off as vending, and so they're doing pop-ups and all of that, and so it's, again, you don't have cash, but you want to shop and support, but you're stuck because you're like, well, you don't accept credit cards. So how have you been able to provide solutions for those?
So the solutions we have allow people to start off with one and then gradually go up.
Okay.
Because they're dealing with one company.
Right,
so we can say, okay, you know what? We can guide you from here to here to here to here.
Well, that's nice.
A lot of people will start off with what's called the mobile point of sale. Works on the phone, a little small card reader that's about 2 by 4 inches. It's very portable. And so they could use that. And what has actually happened in real life, someone said, look, this is going so well, I want to open up a brick and mortar.
Okay.
And they said, well, this little thing here is great, but it doesn't do certain things. It doesn't do inventory very well. It doesn't do this very well. It doesn't do loyalty. So we say, right, we've got another system that you can sort of graduate into. And so they go from, from that into the point of sale system that's meant for brick and mortar.
Right.
And has all the bells and whistles that they need to grow. And that's one of the things we try to do is understand what people need and tell them, don't get what you need, get what you can grow into.
Right.
Because, it's like getting, if you're buying for a child, you have children.
Yes.
They're wearing a size 7. Well, let me get a 7. And then next year, so you said, look.
You get an 8.
And my
wear
mom,
2 pairs of
exactly.
socks.
My mom used to do this. Look, boy, you're growing too fast.
Exactly.
You're a 7 now, I'm going to get you an 8.
Yes.
So next year, I'm going to have to buy shoes.
That's right.
So we try to do the same for a point of sale. What is it that you need to grow into?
Right.
And then that saves them, some time and money.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in terms of the initial challenges, I know that we mentioned that Bermuda doesn't accept all kind of point of sales or payment processing systems, but what were some of the things that you had to face when you were establishing SpectroPay?
One of the things, and this kind of ties into another sort of thing I know you're going to touch on, which was the BDC course that we took.
Yes.
One of the biggest issues any entrepreneur will have is people don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we learned from the BDC course was, know, like, trust.
Yes.
And particularly when you're dealing with people's, payments.
Mm-hmm.
So when we first started, we had to establish ourselves as, okay, yeah, we're someone that can work with you. We're someone that you can trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And after we got to that stage, they said, well, we actually like you guys.
Yes.
So it was like no, like, trust.
Yes.
But we had to get to that stage. Some customers asked us, they're used to working with the bank.
Right.
Credit card terminals.
Right.
Because ours are integrated,
Mm-hmm.
the bank says, well, we don't integrate per se with POS systems, so they're going to have to get one of your terminals. And one merchant asked, oh, well, I'm still
Why
gonna,
would yeah?
I'm,
Why
I'm, gonna, I'm still going to get my money on it because they just didn't know.
Right.
Right? And at first I'm like, then I had
What
to
do you
think
mean?
about,
Yeah,
well, I had to think about it. Yeah, it's right. I mean, they don't know us.
Yeah.
So anyway, we crossed that bridge. And so that's one of the key things, people have to know who you are, so they come to you, trust you, and then they will end up actually like working with you.
Yes.
And they'll bring additional business.
Mm-hmm.
As you probably know, entrepreneurs don't just in one business. They open up
They
one.
open another one.
Another one.
Else.
And
Yep.
if they know, and I like you, SpectroPay, next business, they come to you.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the hardest lessons we had to learn is that it takes time for people to know, like, and trust you.
You guys set up and was like, "What's wrong with people? Why aren't they coming? Don't they know we?"
I mean, we kind of knew the process.
Yeah.
But things don't always happen when you want.
That's true.
They just and that's another I think a lesson for any entrepreneur. Things are not going to happen because you want them to. They will happen when the work goes in and you do the right things.
Because you have to work to build the trust.
You have to
right?
work to build the trust.
Yeah.
And you have to work, so people know who you are. We've had times people have approached us and said, "Man, I went with another POS system. I didn't know about you guys."
Yes.
Some of those people have switched, some haven't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lesson to us to say, hey, maybe we're not hitting certain channels.
Right.
Why people don't know about us.
Well, talking about channels, like how do you get the name out there and let people know that you're here? Because Bermuda is relatively small, right? And so I'm sure when you guys were thinking about starting SpectroPay, like you said, you surveyed and said, well, what does Bermuda need? And you identified this as an opportunity. So to me, that says it probably wasn't that many players in the game.
There were some.
Okay.
But there weren't a lot.
Okay.
And when we started, we said, we think we can offer systems that are good.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, better than what was out there.
Mm-hmm.
We can offer service that's better than what we saw out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to certain, for example, when we were doing the mobile point of sale, we went to the taxi associations.
Yes.
We went to the minibus associations. Right. We went directly to what we call the horse's mouth.
Yes.
Right. And so they can reach out to their clientele. As a B2B business, because we deal with other merchants.
Right.
We don't deal
Correct.
with consumers
Right.
per se. But we deal with other merchants. We find that just mass advertising doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah.
And so we found that holding meetings specifically with associations that represented these merchants was a good thing.
Okay.
And that's how we got our name out there. And then because Bermuda is small, over time, word of mouth travels.
Mm-hmm.
And so today, you could argue, well, why don't you advertise more? Because word of mouth
It actually works in Bermuda.
works in Bermuda.
Yeah.
And it's actually, when you look at the amount of hits you have to get when you do mass marketing versus word of mouth, if somebody says, hey, Jamila, man, you need to go to SpectroPay because it's really, it's a really good company and it's meeting all my needs, so forth. They can say, all right, and particularly if it's someone you know, like, and trust, they can say, hey, you know what?
I'm going to go, yeah.
And they call you up and you got a good rapport because my good friend told me you were good.
Right.
And we find that the rate at which people sign up is higher. It's, I would say, probably 50%.
Okay.
So one of every two people who get a recommendation will sign up with us because their good friend said so.
That's great.
Word of mouth is helped us to grow a lot, particularly in the last 3 or 4 years because of COVID.
Yeah.
So that's been really helpful.
Yeah, I think it's great to know that something like word of mouth still works, especially in the world of social media and all these other types of Instagram marketing and all of that. and to know that you can still rely on that kind of face-to-face connection to build business and solidify business is pretty impressive.
And what we like to think of is that if you get a recommendation, then you're in our opinion, we're halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't mean we don't advertise,
Right?
but we just found it not as effective. Also, keeping in mind that a lot of entrepreneurs, all right, and this is the sort of myth of entrepreneurs, that they're young, techie people,
Yeah.
they're in their 20s.
Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs, like myself,
Yeah.
and like my business partner, Edgar, we didn't start becoming entrepreneurs until we were in our 40s.
Right.
And you'll find a great, in Bermuda, I can say,
think so. I would
a
agree
number
with
of
you.
people in their 40s. Not everybody in their 40s uses Instagram, is comfortable with social media.
Right.
To that extent. Some are, some aren't. So we find that, given our clientele we're trying to reach, certain channels, it may seem like, we just do it on Instagram,
Right,
go to Facebook.
right.
But some people don't look at those the same way. They don't trust those the same way. And so word of mouth really is important for B2B business. I think it is. Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah. So in terms of, you mentioned one business that started off as a vendor and then they ended up saying, I'm grown, I would need a brick and mortar. Can you share any other stories where you have come in, you met them, they got to know you, they liked you, and now they trust you, where you kind of have helped them grow their business? Can you think of any examples that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Well, do you need names or you just need...
You can tell me whatever you want to tell me.
All right. Being a small...
Industry, exactly.
Being a small...
So I don't want,
There are a few, and I'm trying to think of who have I asked. Some people we've asked, can we use your name?
Yeah, and they tell you.
But there are a number of stories where a number of merchants who had a business, they were like a chain.
Okay.
And they've opened up more different types of businesses, but chains as well. And the POS system that we introduced to them really helped to make their business more efficient.
Okay.
To the point now they're like very comfortable with the POS system. And the reason I mention these individuals is because it's POSs don't necessarily just have to help those that are small. They can help those that are medium sized to grow into bigger businesses. Most of our businesses are small to medium, but then there's medium, and medium can become large.
Yes.
But a common theme with the POS systems and the payments we offer is that it makes things easier and more efficient. And going back to the comment I said earlier that you wear many hats.
Yes.
If you can get a POS system, that point of sale system that hooks into your credit card, hooks into your online payments, and hooks into your accounting system, so that everything is seamless.
And that's the one thing sometimes people don't want to worry about the accounting, and they don't want to do that. So now having to manually go through your sales and see where it's what and what it. Your system can help them avoid that manual process.
Yes. We have systems that integrate into accounting.
QuickBooks and all that kind of stuff.
It hooks into QuickBooks. It hooks into others as well, accounting systems. And, one thing about, being an entrepreneur, it's not just, wearing many hats. You have to be efficient.
Yeah.
But also you have to ensure that you have proper cash flow.
Yes.
Okay? Small businesses don't have the same sort of reserves as bigger businesses.
That's right.
So when everything flows through, you're not having to, call the bank, hey, what happened here?
Yeah.
And everything, not just everything, but a lot of things are automated. It means that your intervention is less, right? So when you call up your accountant, the accountant says, I looked into QuickBooks, everything uploaded.
Yeah.
Instead of having 10 questions, they have 2 or 3.
That's right.
And so
that's less time on task for them, meaning more money in your pocket.
Right, and less time to answer the questions, and also less paying the accountant a little bit less.
So I wanted to ask you your opinion.
Okay.
So in my mind, everybody should have a POS system or have some sort of device that will accept credit card or debit card payments. But everybody doesn't, especially in Bermuda.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, because I have my opinion, but I want to ask you, what do you think about that? And do you think that there is there's money being left on the table because they don't have the systems in place? What do you think about that?
I would say, if you asked me that question 5-6 years ago, I would have said definitely 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But there has to be, to use the point of sale systems, to use the credit card terminal, you got to have a certain level of business.
Okay.
If you're out there once a week or once a month,
Yeah.
then you may not have the scale to justify the investment that it takes to get these systems, right? Because the systems do cost some money. They're not expensive.
Yes.
But when you first start out, you're looking at what is the, how cheaply can I get my business up and running?
Yes.
That can be a double-edged sword. Because if you're going to look at it that way, you're going to end up doing everything.
That's right.
And you may end up getting burnt out over time. So you invest in things to save you time so that you can then put your time where it's most needed.
That's right.
Customer service, looking at other ways to grow the business, what other products I can bring in, what other lines of business I can bring in. That's what they call it, the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Learning this stuff, over the last 10 years. What do you need to do? So we tell entrepreneurs, look, tell us about your business.
Right.
We always have to start there. We can't assume that everybody coming in is a full-time business, whatever. Tell us about yourself, because a lot of times we get, let's say maybe half the time people come in, I need a POS.
Yes.
Okay. Like what type? What is it you need?
Yeah.
I need it, and of course they need it like yesterday.
Of course.
So we say, okay, slow down. Tell us about your business. And after they tell us about their business, we say, okay, you know what? Don't think a POS is going to help you because you're not out there enough.
Yes.
You got to pay so much for the POS. You got to pay so much.
Because you have to have the merchant account.
You have the merchant account.
Yeah.
You got to pay so much for the credit card terminal. So the point of sale system itself, there's the vendors will charge you a monthly fee.
Right.
Most of the POS systems now are in what's called in the cloud, so they're not stored on your iPad or on a PC. They're in a centralized system that's basically not. It's stored remotely, and you access it.
Okay.
So if anything happens to your PC, anything happens to your iPad, all you have to do is get another PC, iPad. I mean, I'm not saying that it's trivial, but you haven't lost any data.
Right.
So they charge you a monthly fee in most cases for the point of sale. So you have that cost. You have the cost of the credit card terminal and the bank. So it's going to cost you to get these systems up and running. But so if you don't have the cash flow to support that or the
then
sales,
maybe you wait until you do.
You wait until you do.
So for those businesses that operate every day, 9 to 5, 10 to 4, 11 to 3, like whatever, and don't have one,
then in that case, I would say you seriously need to look. So somehow I think this is a loaded question, but anyway.
It's not loaded. It's not loaded. I'm just saying.
But I know what you mean. I know where you're heading.
Because in my mind, I'm thinking, I know for myself, when you're buying things, it's impulse purchase.
Yep.
If you have a set amount of cash, well, you can only get what that cash can give you. But if you have a card, well, I want one of every thing, so that's an opportunity in my mind, for the entrepreneur, for the business owner, to increase their sales.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right.
Which will then pay for the solution.
It will, and that is kind of the hurdle we have to get them over. Look,
people think I'm gonna have to pay for the merchant account. I'm gonna pay, and so they see the cost.
That's it. They see the cost, but they don't see the opportunity because the cost is staring them in the face.
Yes.
But the opportunity, they have to define it, and it's really potential.
Yes.
It's not a guarantee.
Yes.
But the expense is a guarantee. I know I got to pay the bank this. I know this, but I don't know if I'm going to make it. And it gets back to the mindset of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There are no guarantees. There's no guarantee that your money's going to come in, that you're going to get the sales. You take a risk.
Yeah.
When you step in the door as an entrepreneur, you're taking a risk. If you do your homework, you can reduce your risk, but there's no guarantee of anything.
That's right.
So if you say, look, I gotta get this and this, I gotta get a POS system, I gotta get a terminal, and I gotta take the chance that it's gonna bring in more sales. Data supports the fact that if you accept cards, you will get more sales.
Yeah.
Impulse buys, you walk by and say, man, I like those shoes. You walk in, pull out your card.
Every time.
That's it.
Yep.
I've heard so many stories of people that didn't have it, and this is why they come to us.
Yeah.
Some of them. Somebody comes in, I like their shoes. Oh, Accept card? No. Okay. Bank machine's down there.
Yeah, they go and keep walking. They're
That
not going to
person's
come
gone.
back.
Or if they intend to come back, they see somebody, hey, what's going on? And they forget about that. Impulse buys add probably about 20-30%, to your sales.
And to me, that number right there will cover the cost of putting the system in place.
Right.
So it's interesting to me in this day and age that you still have some businesses that are resistant to that.
They are. I can tell you some, very few, but I can tell you 1 or 2 businesses that don't accept card and they're still doing okay. They make a very good product. But
Yeah.
that's few and far between.
Yeah.
They make
Yeah.
a good local product.
Yeah.
Because if this whatever you're selling can be gotten from overseas, from Amazon,
Then you won't have that same
No.
type of, yeah.
but if you make a good local product,
You have a chance.
You have a chance of saying, look, I can't get this off of Amazon. I can't get this. I'm going to come here.
I get, and do what I have to do to
Yeah,
get it.
exactly.
You train your customers.
And so it can work, but the odds are not with you that it will work.
Right. And
Long
to me,
term.
I still feel like you're leaving money on the table.
You can.
So listen, we mentioned this a little bit, your participation in our Enterprise Bermuda Accelerator
Right.
program, which was essentially a program to help you think about what growth looks like and for you to create your strategic growth action plan. So can you talk about any changes that you made, any improvements that you made
Right.
as a result of taking that course?
We took the course probably 5 or 6 years into when we started. So, it was different for us than a brand new person who's
Right.
just starting out, right? So it helped to formalize some of the structures we already had in place, had to reinforce.
Yeah.
But it also taught us more about strategic planning. We did a business plan and, it tends to get parked,
Yeah,
put away.
You put all that, and then you just put it over here, and then get on with it, right?
And so we looked at, you look at it, dust it off maybe once a year. And one of the things that the course taught us is that, you really should be looking at that plan, at least every 6 months. And so we sat down, and while we were taking the course and saying, okay, how can we look at this? Because this should be what we look at to guide us.
Yeah.
And it helped to motivate us to say, right, we're going to do this and this and this. Okay, when are you going to do it?
Exactly.
How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
What are the small steps? You
Yeah.
just say, yeah, I'm going to build a 10-story building. Okay, when?
Yeah.
How? What's involved in it? So we went through that process. And it was useful for many reasons, but one of the reasons that it was useful is, as a business, you have, so many resources at your disposal. And so when you have plans, you think about your plans. And you spend, I would say, it depends, but you can spend equal time thinking about, I want to do this and this and this. But when you put a timeline behind it, you say, okay, I'm going to do A in 3 months, B in 6 months, and C in 1 year.
It forces you to kind of stick to
the
it. Wicket, yeah.
So instead of thinking about it, you say, okay, well, let me go start with A.
Right.
And then you find out, well, A is not possible. In our case, we had a short-term plan, short-term goal, and we executed it and found out this is not possible, because the people we were engaging with just wasn't going to work. So what it did, and I remember this, saying, okay, well, we didn't have to think about A anymore. We can put our resources into something that is going to be worthwhile and have a potential.
Right.
So mentally, we didn't have to think about A. Whereas if we didn't execute, we'd be thinking about A, B, and C and spending
a
mental
lot of
energy
time,
on something that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So it helps you to execute and then allocate your resources appropriately, so that you can, then have a better chance of being successful in what you want to achieve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so it's worthwhile, I guess, for those who might be considering it. For me, I think that whole idea is really to give you an opportunity to sit back and work on the business piece. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you get so involved in finding the machines, doing the research, bringing the products in, that you don't get a chance to sit back, like you said, and look at A and be like, well, that's not even going to work. So why is it even here?
But it's on paper.
It's on the paper.
So you're thinking about it. You're thinking, okay, well, we might, So it's one of those things where, as you say, it forces you to think, okay, outside the business.
Yes.
Instead of being in the business, you're outside the business, looking, and thinking, okay, what can we do better?
Yes.
Because as an entrepreneur, we're in many hats. You can get caught up in the day-to-day. And you know, the course has helped us to realize, okay, well, we're in the trenches. We need to get out of the trenches.
Right.
And step back and say, right, because that's the only way you're going to grow the business.
That's
if your
right.
head is down, constantly looking at, okay, I got to send out invoices. Oh, I got to do this. Or I got to do that, and you're not really paying attention. Hey, there's opportunity over there.
Yes.
So that's one thing the course really helped us with.
Yeah.
Is to focus on the business plan, also your goals, and sticking to them as best you can.
Speaking about goals.
Okay.
What are some of the goals you have for SpectroPay in let's say the next 3 to 5 years?
We do have some goals. I can't speak too much about them. But
Okay.
we took the course 2 years ago, I believe, right? 2 or 3, maybe it's 3 years.
3, I think now. Oh, my
3.
goodness.
Man, time flies.
Doesn't it?
So we're well into the cycle
Yeah.
of the 5-year plan. We do have one product that we're very close to testing
Okay.
and launching, and it is in the unattended solution space.
Okay.
So
what
in other
does that
words,
mean?
unattended means that there's nobody there. You can just go and interact
Okay.
with the machine. That is one thing that we find is very, very useful. Customers have come to us, and one of the ways that we've grown is that we listen to customers. They've come and said, hey, you know, have you thought about that? And it says, no, we haven't. Or, yes, we have.
Right.
And so we've been approached by a number of vendors that have said, look, you know, we want to get this unattended solution up and running. Are you guys looking at that? And we said, yes, we are. And that was in our business plan
Okay.
that we set
Yeah.
for 3 years ago. So we're well into that cycle.
Okay.
And so, yes, that is one of the things that we're looking at. We do have another goal that we're looking at. I don't want to say that's the one thing.
Okay. Well, listen,
That's one of
you
the
just
things
have
that's
to come back and tell me once you
I
have
can
hit
tell
the
you,
goal.
I can tell you. Well, I will tell you. We will let you know.
Okay.
And I would say in the next few months, you might see, you know, people coming out. We may even think, you know, can we have you guys tested?
Okay.
It's a bit of a toss up because we're going to have a few people that want to test the new product.
Right.
But there is one thing, you know, in the unattended space that we are working on.
Okay.
And that was in the business plan 3 years ago.
All right, and I'm glad to hear that you are still actively working on that, and
Yes.
that you're striking things off as needed and adding things as needed.
And there's one other thing I would say that when it comes to the business plan and the strategic goals,
Yes.
you need to calendarize it. Every 2 weeks, something pops up to say, have you looked at this goal?
Yes.
Have you looked at that goal?
And
Have you
don't
looked at
ignore
this?
it.
And it's like, oh, damn, I did forget about it.
Yes.
You know? And then, so, you know, myself and my business partner, Edgar, we sit down and say, look, got 20 minutes. What we want to do
What
about
we
this?
want to do, yeah.
Are we still serious about it? Yes. And in some cases, we're like, no, that's just not going to work. Push it out the window.
Right.
We don't need to worry about that. But, you know, diarize your goals so that every 2 weeks at least, it's in your head that I got to do something about this.
That's right.
To move it along.
That's right. Okay. Well, listen, believe it or not, it's already been like 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I want you to give us, I want to give you an opportunity to, well, you've shared some gems already with aspiring entrepreneurs, but what advice would you give about starting and growing a business in the technology sector specifically?
Right. Like any business, you got to scope it out. Be very clear about what you're trying to achieve. Technology changes very quickly. In today's world, technology is very accessible to many people. And so whatever you're seeing online or wherever you're seeing, somebody else is seeing. You got to have clear goals about what you want to achieve. You got to make sure you have the right resources. Financing is important. Technology is generally not cheap. If it is something that you can just get cheaply, you best believe someone else can get it and do what you're doing. So, you know, make sure your goals are clear. Make sure you have enough resources. Keep in mind that most things will take longer than you think. You have to be patient. Because it doesn't happen today doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's just not going to happen when you want it to.
Gotcha.
But it can happen.
Right.
So, you know, those are some things that you got to keep in mind as an entrepreneur. You know, you will have days where you're like, oh man, this is tough. Yeah, it is, because that's the road that you chose. There's no yellow brick road that you follow.
Unfortunately, no.
Right? So there's no little elves that tell you follow this and follow that.
Yeah.
It's you got to have the willpower and you got to have the vision to say, right, I know this is the right direction. Also reach out to other entrepreneurs for help because you're not walking that road alone.
Right.
There are other people that have the same issues you have. Okay, you're not so special that all the problems come to you.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of entrepreneurs that have the same problems as you. Reach out to other entrepreneurs, speak with them, and you'll find, oh, you having that problem too? Yeah. How did you get around it?
Fix it?
Yeah, I did it this way. Oh, okay, yeah, and that helps. That helps. But it is a very rewarding, career. Like anything, it comes with its challenges, but it's a chance for you to stamp, like it's like buying your own home.
Mm-hmm.
That is yours. You can put your stamp on it. Your business, you can put your stamp on it, and there's a lot of joy in building something from scratch into something that people recognize.
Yeah,
there's a lot of joy in that.
That.
So keep that in mind that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
There is.
Oh yeah, there is. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And lastly, how can interested businesses get in touch with you if they are ready to sign up and get their systems in place?
There's a couple of ways. You can get us via email, info@spectropay.bm. We try to get people to send email because conversations you don't remember.
Listen,
things take longer than you think. People call you up and they'll call you up 2 months later. And remember me? I'm like kind of vaguely.
Yeah.
You send an email. We can look back and say, this is what we discussed.
That's right.
And we can pick up the conversation. So info@spectropay.bm.
Okay.
You can reach us on 456-8628 by telephone. We're always happy to talk to entrepreneurs. People have questions. Sometimes it's quicker to answer the questions via phone. And then they can go to our website, www.spectropay.bm, and look to see what services we offer. Some people are very visual, so they like to see.
Yes.
Others like to talk,
Yes.
and they'll call us up, and others just write a short email, and then we can arrange a call to call you back.
Okay.
We try to get to everyone within 24 hours, at least via email and phone. We try to get back to people to say, we got your email. Can we arrange a time to talk more? Some questions are quite complicated, and we'd just like to talk it out.
Okay.
All right, but that's how they can reach us.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for minding your business with us today.
Thank you, Jamila.
And remember, if you don't mind your business, who will?
Exactly.
Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamila Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.